for you and me. Another key change, oh God, oh no. Big nightmares for you and me. All right, here we go. Gig Nightmares. Today we have a very special guest, one of my personal icons, Mr. John Gallagher of the band Raven. How are you today, John?
I'm doing great, Max. Great to be here.
So it's awesome getting to talk to you now just because of how many awesome things you've done, how many things you've been a part of. Just to give like a brief rundown. So Raven, formed in 1974, one of the first bands of what would become known as the new wave of British heavy metal. Throughout your career, you've played shows with Ozzy's Blizzard of Oz, the first lineup with Randy Rhoads in there back in 1980. That's amazing. Iron Maiden, Motörhead, Whitesnake, Testament, Kreator, The Stranglers, Tank, Hammerfall, Udo, Diamond Head, Girlschool, like just so much awesome music. And well, obviously taking out Metallica on their very first tour, headlining that tour, and then them returning the favor a few times over the last couple of years, opening for them in Sao Paulo, Brazil, in a football field for almost 70,000 fans. All the different festivals you guys have played around the world, 70,000 tons of metal. And then 2023 was the most recent studio album with All Hell's Breaking Loose. So just a bunch of awesome stuff there.
Yeah, keeping it busy, and I'll just put my 10 cents in. We put an EP out earlier this year called
Okay.
Take Away the Fire, which is like 5 new songs, and it's got 3 live tracks from all over our career because we knew we needed to fill a little hole until Mike gets his new studio built. So we ran in and did this. It's a goodie.
Awesome. So obviously with the topic of this show, Gig Nightmares, it's really just dedicated to all the chaos that happens into making live music happen. And I remember reading an article, an interview you did with someone, I don't remember which publication, but they asked about, do you have any Spinal Tap-esque stories from being out on the road? And you mentioned Rob playing a drum solo and flash powder on the helmet and percussion bombs and just blowing everything up. So I figured you would have a lot of good stories to tell.
Yeah, that was a crazy show. All in all, that was at the Moore Theatre in Seattle, which is like an old style theatre, with a very high proscenium, great height for the lights, and all this space backstage. And what we used to do back then is Rob had his helmet, and the pyro guy had this thing with flash powder and flash paper, which was, I guess Rob had it on a switch, and he would play solo, then stand up and then hit the button, and it would go, just no noise. All the boom it was connected with it, and it was, they had the concussion bomb with flight cases all the way around it to keep it safe and keep it out of the way.
Hmm.
So that particular show, he hits the button, boom, and then you hear ba bum ba bum ba bum bum ba bum 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 ba bum bum bum, and all 7 or 8 flight cases fell down the stairs. Also at the same gig, that the pyro guy and our tour manager were indulging in the green lettuce a little bit too much. I think they got carried away, and they were loading pyro pots along the front. And I don't know what they put in. They were putting dirt and this, and that, and the other. And when they triggered it at the beginning, it created one of those Jacobson's arcs like you see in the Frankenstein movies,
Sure.
with the lightning, and it like went up the curtain.
Oh no.
And it was like the most horrifying thing you've ever seen. It was like amazing. And yeah, they tried to recreate that and they could never do it.
That's awesome. I'm trying to remember. I've seen. I don't remember if it's been 4 or 5 times. Obviously, I try to see you guys whenever you're around in town. I think the very first time was about 12 years ago. The Hurricane Sandy benefit in Old Bridge, New Jersey, with Twisted Sister, TT Quick, Anvil, the Rods.
Yeah.
I think I was like maybe 13 years old at the time, and I just amazing. Like the fact that well, one, the fact that any band from, however many decades ago is still up there, still doing it, just keeping the music alive, always just been a big inspiration to me. But the fact that you guys are up there still just doing it, running around with all the energy, it's just amazing. How do you guys manage to like still keep up the stamina and the chops with everything?
Well, that's just what we do. We love to do it, and also, I mean, we grew up, and you'd see bands. Bands would be your heroes. I remember famously seeing Bad Company back in like 1977, maybe. What was that horrible album they had? Desolation Angels with "Here Come the Jesters, 1, 2, 3." Right, that album. So it was a big hit. They were riding high, and they came out like they didn't give a shit.
Oh,
They just stood still. In fact, at one point, Mick Ralphs was standing looking bored to death, and the photographer waves at him. He walked 15 steps to the front of the stage, paused for the click, and then walked back and was bored
oh,
again.
that's so lame.
And Paul Rogers sang wonderfully, but they were awful, and all the guitar tones were cleaned up. It was all clinky clank, and it was like, no, no, you can't do that. You either do it right or go home, you know? And I hate to see anyone, like there's bands, I mean, even now, like Yes has got it, it's just Steve Howe. And, they've changed all the guys in the band, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but when you go out there and everything's dialed back and you're playing slower and you're playing cleaner and you're not playing with the energy, and then you see John Anderson, who's 80 years old, singing like a bird with a bunch of younger guys who are killing it and who love, really can see the passion, and they're improvising and they're pushing. What a difference. And
Absolutely.
that's keeping the music alive. Yeah, everyone gets older. You might not be able to run around and jump as much, but there should be no expiration on passion at all. That can't happen.
I agree 100%. But for some reason, and it's just like another fun aside thing, but I remember, I think it was the last time I saw you guys at Pete, I think it was called Peter and John's in New Hope, Pennsylvania.
Oh Jesus Christ! Yes, the joke show. Yeah. However, that was there's your gig nightmare right there, because halfway through, I mean, this venue we turned up was so small that we ended up using the opening band's drum kit.
Oh,
Makes
okay.
us, we'll just, it's too much. There was no room to keep moving stuff around.
Yep.
So he's playing on it, and the kick pedals basically exploded.
Yes, I remember that.
So then it was like, okay, bass noodles, guitar noodles, bass and guitar noodles. I think we even played half of a song without drums, just filled in, and you did what you can. And the funny thing was, when you're treating that with humor, and like sort of like, okay, we got lemons, let's make lemonade. People get into it and they have fun with it. When you see a band where something goes wrong and they get the black look of death, and they're gonna like smash something up in a bad mood and walk off, that destroys any kind of empathy you've got with the audience whatsoever.
Sure.
So we learned that a long time ago. Something goes wrong, it's just part of the gig. Make something out of it.
Absolutely. But something I just a fun quote I remember from that. So that was a house sound guy doing the sound for that. And most of the time when you guys play, you don't really have any sort of like vocal effects. Obviously, you have like EQ'd, so it sounds fine, but you don't really go for like any sort of reverb. I remember about halfway through the show, they started adding reverb on the vocals, and I think it was you that said it, but you said something into the mic. What's all the reverb for? Did your mommy get you that for Christmas?
It's a great line. I stole that line actually from our old drummer Rob Hunter. We did a session. there was a movie called Hot Moves, and we
Uh,
did two songs for it back in, we'd be recording in 1984. So this was in the middle of doing Stay Hard and then mixing Live at the Inferno. So we were already in. So these movie guys come in and they all looked very, very connected. These older guys that would be sitting in the back talking about jazz, and they were all very Italian and very,
sure.
good fellows. And they had this engineer and his sidekick come up, two hotshots from Manhattan, to record these songs. And they were like all bitching about how they're in the sticks and, you can't get good bagels here. And they were really obnoxious. They set up and they'd be like playing the tracks at like 1,000,000 watts, like nearly blowing the speakers out. But I remember they went and did a mix of this song, Hot Moves. And it was like a, bah, bah. They go, the sun is shining through. So they put echo on it. So they play the first one. He goes, the sun is shining through, through, through. And Rob just looks at him and goes, you get that echo unit for Christmas? They turned it off, tail between their legs, and walked away and redid it. But yeah, that's a favorite one. That it's just like, no, if I'm talking to the audience, I don't need echo, echo, echo.
Yeah, I completely get that. Oh, the time before that, I think that I saw you guys was Dingbats with Riot Act and Whiplash, and
Right.
obviously another great show. But what one of the standout things for me that I remember Whiplash, since well, that was the only time I ever saw them. I'm not sure if you remember, but
Oh, I remember well, yeah.
okay. So do you know the story I'm going to tell? So they I don't remember is his name Tony, the guitar player?
I believe so.
Yes. So
I mean,
um,
they got history, good band,
oh yeah,
good
no, great
songs,
band. I love their stuff.
great, nice guys.
What I remember is maybe them getting about maybe halfway through the show, and he breaks a string, and it's on a Floyd Rose guitar. So if you break a string there, the whole thing goes out of tune. And he didn't have a backup with him since I think they were flying to Europe the next day, the next morning, something like that. So he only had the one guitar. So they spent the entirety of the next, well, I think it took them about 10 minutes to do a restringing of that. And obviously, like
I
I,
think it was longer than 10 minutes. And if it wasn't, it was the longest 10 minutes of all time.
yes, so like the bass player and drummer, I don't remember their names, but they're just like jamming, trying to keep the silence to a minimum. But it's just, oh, that's I
That's
just remember
tough.
that. It
And
was
that's one of those things it's like rock and roll 101. If it can go wrong, it will go wrong. Uh, the last time I ever played a show with one bass would have been like 1975.
oh wow. But it's
And the
exactly what you
first the
described.
first gig I ever played was in 1975. So that was probably that gig. Ever since then, even if you never use it, you have the backup, you have the spare cord. If the amp's going to go down, is there a DI you can take so you can just keep it going?
Sure. Oh, so something that actually happened yesterday. Today's Monday. I played yesterday on a Sunday. And it was an outdoor gig, big festival sort of thing, 2,000 people or whatever, with the 80s tribute band that I'm in. And we're just in direct sunlight. I don't use an amp. I use a line six, just going front of the house and with in-ears because
All right.
it's for transportation. But something happened that had never happened to me before. Like being outside in the hot sun and direct sunlight on the board. We're doing sound check and I see my guitar signals going into the board. It's if I turn the tuner on, it's getting a signal, but for some reason nothing is outputting. So I'm trying all the different cables. It's not issues with the cables, it's not inputs, it's not the sound guy has it muted or anything. It's nothing like that. So I have no idea what's going on. So I'm it's amusing. I'm pressing different buttons with my foot, obviously foot pedals and whatever. and I would hover my foot over and I would get a little bit of sound out of it. It's almost like synthesizers where with like the D beam where like
Right,
you
right, right. Yeah.
and I didn't know it could do that. It's not supposed to do that. So we found out
All of a sudden, you've got a theremin. Yeah.
what actually ended up happening with it. And if it was being blocked by the sunlight, it would work again. But when the sunlight was hitting it, it was just sort of like, I guess, overheating or something. I'd never seen anything like that before. It was ridiculous. So
What
I'm
pedals are they? Are you playing through a Helix or a?
Yeah, pretty much a Helix. It was like a smaller version of a Helix. It's the Pod Go, I think it.
Right, right. The Podco. Yeah.
Yeah. And like again, I'd never seen that happen before. I'm just thinking, what, do I need to stand here the whole 90-minute set with my foot just hovering above it? But no, fortunately, like you put a whatever to block it, and then once the sun went down, it was fine. But it's just
That's absolutely
ridiculous technology. And
crazy.
I was thinking to myself, I was talking with my de facto guitar tech. I call him that because he doesn't actually get paid. And I was thinking, okay, in that sort of situation, if my board didn't work, what would I do? Because I didn't have like a backup or anything with me. But then I realized something. Actually, he came up with the idea, and it was a very cursed idea. So on my board, since we do Bon Jovi songs, I have a talk box on there. Now with the
Right.
talk box, it basically cuts off the signal that goes to the rest of the signal chain, and it just amplifies the sound coming out of the tube.
Up the tube and you go to the mic. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So hypothetically, worst case, last case scenario, what I could have done.
Oh, yeah. That would be great.
Yeah,
Play
you
from
just
the
mic
talk
up.
box all night. Yeah.
Yep, you just mic that up. It would sound horrible, but I guess
Nasty.
it'd be better than the show getting canceled. But oh, that'd be horrible.
Now, what you got to do? There's a few things out there. There's a something just came out by an outfit called I think Valveton, and
Not familiar.
it's like a MXR style sized pedal,
Hmm.
and you can upload like Kemper sounds or whatever off the internet, the whole deal. So it's just like a one pedal, and it's maybe like $100 or something, and that's like your lifesaver. Everything goes down. I'll plug into that, and at least you've got real tone. You know,
Sure, as opposed to the talk box pedal.
but it's. I mean, it's really difficult. I mean, I don't know how people do it when they especially not so much now, but a few year back with the tube amps with, they get bashed around in the truck or they're a little bit sensitive with the temperature, so they never. You're lucky if they work. I mean, we had Mark was using a Mesa Boogie Triaxis, which is a rack mount preamp
Mm,
with tubes, but it's got like a computer, just a button. It was very advanced for the time. And every time we flew, this thing would get destroyed.
ah,
And it was just like, please, enough. And I ended up testing out a thing by an outfit called ISP, which is like a lot of things that are out now, where it's a larger pedal with the 3-foot switches, and it's a 2-channel preamp, and it sounded amazing. And that's been the basis of his sound ever since, really, even though we've cloned it and stuck it into a Kemper and all the rest of it. But uh, it's you got to have that option, or you got to think ahead. Like I always remember seeing bands where the guy would have the guitar and would come to the big solo and he'd go, and as soon as he hit the high note, he'd pull and the jack would come out the guitar, and he'd be standing there with a big sign with plonker written all over him. Ugh. So it's like, yeah, hook your cord over your strap so that doesn't happen. Tape your cords down. Make
sure.
sure if you're using batteries, make sure they're fresh. All this kind of stuff. And yeah, you'll still screw up, but if you can reduce, and that way you can concentrate on what you're there to do, which is just have fun and play music.
Sure. You mentioned that, and I think I mentioned it on an earlier episode of this podcast, but I saw Michael Schenker about 3 years ago, and for some reason he wasn't threading the cord through the strap, and he ended up in the middle of a solo, just as you described, yanked it out. And it's like, but this is Michael Schenker. He should know better.
Yeah, exactly. There's no, there's no excuse. If you're a newbie, fair enough. And then the other great one, of course, especially with the '80s when everyone started doing the guitar around the neck
Yep,
thing, and
yep.
the strap would come off. It's just like, no, my straps on mine. It's like strap locks. No, I got like 3-inch screws
Yep.
and glue, and it won't come off. You know, like
That's the way to do it.
back in the day, I'd be swinging the bass around like this. It's just like, yeah, it's not going to come off. There's no way.
When you have guitars, I guess basses with bizarre shapes like the Explorer shape, does it still work when you throw it around like that?
Oh no, I wouldn't. Well, I wouldn't try that. You got to have it very high to do that, and I would imagine that the head's going to just smash off the ground if you're doing that with a bass. So, uh, no, that never seemed to make sense to try that. Not to mention, I don't have these guys don't have like like seatbelt injuries from the
Yeah.
strap cutting the neck off and all the rest of it. Uh, but there's plenty of funny videos for that. So yeah, the strap lock thing's always a joke, and yeah, everything else on your guitar, it's amazing. You pick a guitar up, get pliers, and check the machine heads. They always go loose. The nuts holding them on, they always go loose. All this stuff.
Sure.
So we've got a tour coming up in September. We fly on September 3rd. So I've still got from the last gig, my basses are sitting there in a flight case. So I would take them out, put them together because I take the necks off when I fly with them.
Yep.
Put them back together, go through everything, make sure it all works. Nothing, the glue hasn't decided to come off the nut, or these kind of things can happen.
Hmm.
And you've got to go over the whole thing, make sure it all works, and take it back apart, and then you're solid.
Yeah, I remember
You
you were
put
telling me
that.
about that. You're telling me about that before, taking the necks off of the bass when you travel. Because I did my first European tour back in March of this year, and I had actually it's right here, 7-string Jackson that I bought for like $150 off of Facebook Marketplace. Chrome wrapped it, put new pickups in there and everything.
Oh, that
But
looks kick ass. That's great, man. Let me see
yeah,
that. Pull
uh,
back. Oh, yeah, yeah,
focus
yeah.
there.
Good deal.
Yeah, again, $150, $100 pickups, locking tuners, chrome wrap for $10, and yeah, it was awesome. But similarly, I had the idea. Obviously, when you're touring and whatever, you want it to be as sustainable and financially feasible as possible. So I was thinking, okay, I don't want to have to check in any bags. I don't want to have to worry about TSA losing my guitar, et cetera, et cetera. So I had the idea, okay, I have this large, like 3-day hiking backpack, and I'm just going to put that everything I need for a week and a half in Europe. Just have that with me. So I had my Line 6 pedal board. I had the guitar disassembled, the body in there, and then I just had the neck wrapped up, and I was just carrying that around the airport and change of clothes, and it worked somehow. It was a bit
Yep.
crazy to actually carry it around, but it worked.
Yep.
And
That's
I got that idea from you saying, take the neck off of there.
that's smart because I see all these things of people going on with their gig bags and whether they let them on the plane with them or not. And that's just like, and then again, they usually, I'm going to Europe with my one guitar.
Yeah.
That's like, you're asking for trouble. You got to have that backup. And sometimes it may be worth saying, yeah, I'm going over a day earlier. I'm going to go to some bullshit guitar shop and buy $100 guitar and have it. And last night I'll set it on fire or whatever. I don't have to pay to bring it there and bring it back. Boom. You
Yep.
know, I made $50 on the deal.
There you go.
Yeah, it's going to cost you 75 to $100 just to bring the thing over. I mean, that happened to me. It was years ago. Uh, I used to take 2 regular bass cases and duct tape them. Here's my one piece of luggage. And all of a sudden, this was like after, after 9/11 or whatever. So it would have been like by the time we were going out again, 2005, 2006, after Mark's accident.
Mhm.
That's two pieces. You can't do that. No, it's not. It's one. No, it's two. All of a sudden, I had 5 people around me going, "Are you trying to cause trouble?" I say,
Ah,
"Okay, fine, I'll pay." So that cost a fortune. And I'm like, "Screw this." I got a case built where I could bring 3 basses, and it turned out it was just overweight and oversized. So I was like, "That's great. That'll cost you whatever it was going to be, $175 plus $300 for oversized and overweight, there and back." And I'm like, enough. So I
wow.
researched, got the bolts for the necks, got a case made that was smaller, and it paid for itself the first trip. And so it's literally saved me thousands of dollars. And, for the sake of having to spend 10, 15 minutes to set them up and 10, 15 minutes to break them back. So,
That's smart. That's how you do it.
yeah, that's literally and my brother, he has a regular light case for a guitar, and he can get 2 guitars in it, nose to tail, just jams them in.
Wow.
And
And there's never damage?
well, they're tellies or strats type guitars, so you can throw them out of buildings, nothing's going to happen. You couldn't do that with a Gibson, not in a million years.
That's awesome.
Try that with an SG, you'd have firewood by the end of it, I think. Yeah.
Getting back a little bit on topic, I guess, to gig nightmares, is there anything else that immediately jumps out at your mind when I say that?
Big nightmares. There was a few that were sparked off by the conversation. The pyro guy, this guy we had, who was a interesting character, big black fella, big afro, spoke just like Roger Moore, English accent. He
Hmm.
was from White Plains or somewhere in New York. Very flamboyant, crazy clothes, rings, everything. And we were in Madison, Wisconsin, and he's setting up the helmet for Rob, and it was very humid. And with the rings, it sparked and it went off in his face.
Oh,
Uh, Horrifying. I mean, this guy was like literally, like black African, and when he stood, his face was freaking pink and white. All the
ugh.
skin had gone, and he's screaming. And so we got him to the hospital. 2 days later, he turns up on the road, face bandaged like the Invisible Man, with a T-shirt with Raven Burns written on it.
Jeez.
Oh dear. So yeah, be careful if anyone's going to mess with pyro. Be very, very, very careful. Leave it to the professionals. Don't mess with that. Uh, Gig nightmares. Jeez. Well, the earliest one, it's a story I've told a few times, but our drummer at the time, and this would be 1976, so very young. Uh, and if anyone's ever seen the Tommy movie by The Who, the Ken Russell Tommy movie, there's a scene near the end with a bunch of Hells Angels. Those exact Hells Angels wanted us to play a show for them
Hmm.
out in a field south of Newcastle in the middle of nowhere. So yeah, we're going to play for the Angels. So we set up, we go there. It's cloudy. It's beginning to rain. We play our set. The crowd love it. We play Born to Be Wild, our big finisher, and they want to hear it again. And then they want to hear it again.
Hmm.
And then they want to hear it again. And then the rain starts. And then my brother is playing. All of a sudden, he just falls down on the ground, shaking. I kick the guitar away from them. And they're like, "Come on, play, play." I'm like, "No, he's just had an electric shock. We're done.
Ugh.
It's raining. We're finished." So we're all freaking out. We pick him up, we drag him to the van. He gets halfway there, and one eye opens, and he goes, "Let's get the fuck out of here." So you had to fake an electric shock to get us out of that situation. That was fun.
Pretty smart, though. That's very smart.
Yeah.
Uh,
And we're talking about things going wrong. I mean, I remember we used to play a place called the Cooperage in Newcastle. It's down by the river, and it's like a building from the 1400s. You know,
Wow.
the Tudor with the whites and the beams, and it's leaning forward. And apparently, it's been disused for years. Like somebody's going to work on reopening it, which is great because it's great history. But this place, you know, you nearly hit your head on the top. It was like that place in Pennsylvania, very small, crazy atmosphere. I remember breaking a bass string, and again, jam goes on where I've got no strings. I have to tie a knot in the damn thing to make it work, and you know that might have been the preemptive. Let's get a spare guitar in case this happens again. May have been that one. I remember playing a show in Wales, in Cardiff Top Rank, with a band called Persian Risk, who, funnily enough, the original singer, Carl Sentence, I'm going to be doing a project with him later
Very
in the
cool.
year, doing new wave British heavy metal stuff. Pretty funny. But anyway, and Phil Campbell from Motörhead was in that band.
Hmm.
Yeah. So we know him from back then. Anyway, we're playing this show, and Rob breaks the snare head on the drum. Where's the spare snare drum? Oh, it's in the flight case in the truck, like 10 blocks away.
Ah.
20-minute bass solo. Comes back, we're all good. Guitar string breaks. Telecaster, body loaded string, the string's jammed. They can't get it out.
Ah.
And he'd already broke a string on the other guitar. 15-minute bass solo. Boy, they must have hated me that night.
I mean, obviously, coming from a musician perspective, I love your bass solos. To me personally, they're a highlight of the Raven show. I love what you do, and like, but I can see how like an average audience member not really
Well,
may
it
not be.
depends. I mean, you can, you know, at a certain point, you'd probably lose people's interest if you're doing 5 to 10 minutes. I can pretty much keep people entertained and have fun with it.
But I
You know,
do love the idea of
when I stop running out having fun, then it's no fun for nobody.
I do love the idea of just 35 minutes of the show being dedicated to bass solos.
Oh yeah, it's a fantastic concept. One that we only ever tried once, I think so.
On Saturday when we played, we were doing sound check, but it was like a big outdoor amphitheater free show, and people were allowed to just kind of show up and set up their lawn chairs whenever. And it was kind of bizarre because there was just maybe 150 people there watching our sound check. Just you would say check 1 2, and they would yell 3 4. So
Oh
I had
yeah,
a fun idea of it's a stupid idea, but an amusing idea, a concept for a band. Sound check the band, where the whole show you're just doing, you
oh
go
yeah.
through half of a song, you stop, you say, "Can I get a little bit more vocals in the monitor?" You go through maybe half of another song, you say, "Actually, no, we need to do this part," and like the whole 2 hour set or whatever is just a sound check.
Put it way down. Just do like 10, 15 minutes and then just go, okay, thank you, good night.
uh,
Actually saw a band do that, a bar band. It was in Wisconsin. I used to go out with a girl up there, so we'd go to this show. And the band were really good, a cover band. And it's like, does anybody want to hear some Metallica? Yeah, okay. Master! Master! Thank you. And now we're going just the two chords as it was. That was it. Brilliant.
that's great.
Love it. But yeah, most your disasters are equipment related. I remember some where the fights with bouncers on the side of the stage. Some guy was standing there right in front of Mark changing his guitar and wouldn't get out the way.
Mhm.
Uh, he ended up on the floor. We had a gig in Reno, Nevada, where a guy jumped up on stage so his friend could take selfies of him. Ha ha ha, great. And he comes back off. Then at the end, he gets up and he's dancing. And my brother's like, yeah, you're done. Time to get off. And the guy said, what do you mean? bad move. Guitar goes down, fisticuffs, guy flying through the air, landing on the floor, Oh, jeez. Crazy.
Oh, I was reading this one, probably not a gig nightmare, just an interesting thing. A show at the Aragon Ballroom in Chicago where there was a wrestling ring in the middle of the ballroom and wrestling matches would happen in between bands.
Yeah, that was probably the first time that little connection was ever made. It was us and Tank.
Hmm.
Tank were over there. And so they played, and then there was a wrestling bout in the middle. And that was the first time I saw wrestling. You think, oh, yeah, it's fake, but there's nothing much fake about guys flying 8, 10 foot in the air and landing on wooden boards just covered with cloth. It was like, oh my God, they're actually doing this. This was crazy. So yeah, that was different.
A bizarre one that I experienced about, I guess, coming up on 2 years now. The 80s band, we were doing like a corporate private event. I don't remember the scenario, but it was at the American Dream Mall in Rutherford, New Jersey, big money sort of thing. We're in one of their showrooms doing I don't remember exactly what it was, but anyways, there was an act before us, and if I remember correctly, it was a bunch of people in like kids show costumes like SpongeBob and whatever, like singing and dancing, and I don't remember why. And then the 80s band goes on, and it's just such a bizarre mismatch. It's
Oh
almost
yeah,
like Spinal Tap and Puppet Show.
and puppet show, totally. Jeez. I remember you mentioned the Aragon Ballroom. The next time we played there was actually, it'd be the day after Cliff died in
Mm,
'86, and we were opening for Yngwie Malmsteen. So there was a real mix of emotions because we just found out about Cliff. And then we had to watch Yngwie go through a bunch of tantrums.
mm.
How And apparently his guitar tech at the time was Ian Ferguson, who was Richie Blackmore's tech for years.
Ah.
So not only did he steal the look, he actually stole the guitar tech too. So they started off with whatever it is, Far Beyond the Sun, one of these da 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 da
Yep,
da da
yep.
da and there's no guitar. And he's freaking out and he's on his knees looking at his pedal board and he runs off and he grabs the tech and he has him up against the wall out of the view of the audience, lifted off the ground, screaming, make it work, make it work. We're all looking going, cocaine is such a wonderful drug, isn't it? Oh my God, psychotic. And then, of course, we had to deal with him the next night in Detroit, where he wouldn't even let us bring the equipment into the hall until they'd finished sound checking.
I always,
Unbelievable.
I always appreciate a good Ingve story because it's always just going to be
And
insane.
it was like we're standing there, and I'm watching from the desk, and he walks up and he's looking straight at me, going, Willy, 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 Willy. I'm just going, yeah, yeah. I need more Marshall stacks, more Marshall stacks. He's putting Marshall stacks in front of the side fills, in front of everything. So, of course, when we come on, it's like, nasty people we are, spitting all over everything.
That's awesome.
And then the last time we really interacted with him was at a thing called Foundations Forum. It was a heavy metal convention that they used to have out in California.
Hmm.
And it was at a hotel, and it was great. All the bands would hang out. We're all having lunch together. And he's there with his very hot Filipino girlfriend. And at one point, he just stands up and slaps her full in the face
Oh,
and then walks out. And this is this band from Jersey called Dial. And they all wore like balaclava helmets, like woolen hats over
okay.
the face with the eye holes. And they were like, no. And they got up and walked out to the parking lot and they beat the shit out of him in the parking lot.
Serves him right. Ugh.
But at least the interviews you see with him recently, he seems to have mellowed a lot. I mean, let's face it, the guy's phenomenal. He's a phenomenal guitar player, but it doesn't cost you nothing to be human, does it?
Yeah. I mean, I like to, obviously, we like to believe that people get better with age. I have yet to actually come to a real conclusion with Ingve on one way or another, just because of like two news articles I remember seeing over the past couple of years. One, uh, there's like I think it was the Canyon Club out in California. Jeff Scott Soto, his former singer, hangs out there all the time, and he was there on a day that Ingve was going to be performing. Jeff had no idea, but he was just there, and Ingve specifically had the club kick him out of there just because he didn't want him in the same building. I heard that, and then I actually had the chance to interview both Jimmy Waldo and Gary Shea from Alcatraz on this podcast previously, so that's been cool. But I saw a recent article from Gary Shea saying he asked Ingve if he wanted to play on a new Alcatraz song, and Ingve said he would do it for $1 million, and that's no one is worth $1 million on a track. It doesn't. You could get Paul McCartney on a track. I
Yeah,
wouldn't pay $1 million for that.
ludicrous. That's what in the business you call an FU quote. You really don't want to do it. Oh dear.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sad. And again, like I mean, I haven't met Gary, but we toured with Jimmy, and Jimmy's wonderful. He's such a nice guy. Amazing stories, and what a player. Fantastic. Good people.
I mean, I personally love the story of the Rockshire record label that they were on back in '83 with the first album. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the story of that, but pretty much in a nutshell, that label was being funded by embezzlement from the Howard Hughes Corporation. Someone was one of the co-founders of the record label was a secretary there and just kept writing checks
Just
out.
writing checks.
Yeah. So they're on tour in Boston, and their manager tells them, "Yeah, the record label no longer exists. It's going under because embezzlement. The owners are being arrested. We managed to get out of there. We did the paperwork. No, we're no longer attached, but and then the masters of that first Alcatraz record just went missing. Like no one knows for certain if the owners of the record label, like if they just hid it somewhere, ran off with it, or if the IRS has it. No one knows.
Oh my God. Well, that happens a lot. Someone was just asking me about that earlier today with original masters. I mean, our original masters, like with Neat Records, he would take the 2-inch tapes, and the next session that would come in, he'd immediately reuse the tapes.
Oh,
I
that's
mean, and we didn't find that out for years.
hmm.
I mean, just, talk about false economy. It was just like crazy.
Hmm.
And, there's maybe some of the Atlantic stuff is sitting hiding somewhere. I don't know the actual 2-inch tapes, but I think a lot of times, especially in this day and age, they're just like, we've got masters, we don't need the multi tracks, throw them out. I mean, that's famously the Who with the Kids Are All Right. There's footage of them playing the Coliseum in London from maybe '69 doing Tommy, and it's fantastic footage. And they
Mhm.
got that footage because somebody found it in a dumpster. It had
Wow,
been thrown out. And when they saw Who, they freaked out and found and brought it to the band. And it's like fantastic footage. And so that kind of crazy stuff happens all the time.
sure. So to change the topic a little bit. So obviously this is the Gig Nightmares podcast. I had the idea a couple of weeks ago. My keyboard in the keyboardist in the '80s tribute band. Her husband plays in an Eagles tribute band. Is the Glenn Fry in that band, and he's been doing that for years and years to the extent where he just hates hearing any Eagles songs
So
when
he's
he's
Glenn Fried.
yeah, that's a good one. But I had the idea after hearing that of doing a podcast called "I Hate This Song," where basically I interview musicians and I ask them, one, what's their least favorite song to perform if there's a song that they've been doing for years and they get sick of it, and what's their least favorite song in general. So, off the top of your head, do you have any answers for those two questions?
Not really. You know, the songs that we've played literally every gig since we wrote them. Something like Rock Until You Drop. I don't think we've ever played a show without Rock Until You Drop in it. And it's one of those songs where there's all these little quirks and little bits and little parts you can improvise on and change and have fun with. And our stuff's like that, where it's not set in stone. There's a little bit of fluidity with it being the three-piece thing. So there's push and pull, and it never gets old. I mean, there's been songs I think we've done over the years where maybe it's a new album or whatever, and you just weren't comfortable with the song, and you kind of just say, we're going to put that to one side. But nothing that really jumps to mind. With other bands, yeah, I can think of a lot of songs that should be retired. Living After Midnight, You Got Another Thing Coming. Uh, what's the other? There's another Priest one that they do to death. The various versions of Accept doing Balls to the Wall. Uh, that can get old real quick. But it's a double-edged sword, Typically, songs like that, people want to hear them. So even if the band are a little fed up with playing them, it's just like, I hit that chord and the crowd goes nuts.
Hmm.
And how, am I wrong or are they wrong? They're right.
Sure.
Yeah. To a degree, give the people what they want.
I mean, like in the early days of the band, did you find yourselves having to do lots of covers to supplement not having enough songs written, or did you always have enough original songs written?
We
When you,
had a lot of songs, but we were in a situation where wherever we were playing, you pretty much had to play cover songs. And we kind of snuck in our originals around the edges. And that got way up until, like, say, 79 and early 80, when we were still playing bars and clubs, but it was nearly all original at that point. I think we'd do like Space Station Number 5 would be like an encore.
that's pretty awesome.
Before that would be Highway Star. We would do that as an encore and come on and go nuts and smash everything up. Yeah.
Okay, well, so you guys are doing covers that you liked as opposed to, I don't know, play that funky music.
Oh no, we weren't going out there and playing Mustang Sally, that's for sure. I mean, I remember our very first gig. We played "Stealing" by Uriah Heep, "Roll
Ooh,
Over, Lay Down" by Status Quo. Probably played "Highway Star." So that was always the more revved up, energetic stuff. The local bands, they're playing Deep Purple, they're going to play Smoke on the Water.
sure.
And we would never play Smoke on the Water. We'd play Highway Star or, you know, Hard Loving Man or something crazy, one of the revved up ones.
That's
But
awesome.
I'm trying to think. Yeah, it was an education playing those bars and clubs, because most of the clubs were south of the river, and there's a huge, football, soccer rivalry between Newcastle and Sunderland. And all the clubs we played, they were all Sunderland supporters. So the MC would always take great pleasure in, "Here's the boys from Newcastle." Boo! And then they'd have the bar, like the coasters, for the beer. And they'd write requests on and bring them up to the front of the stage. So you'd see, "Smoke on the Water," or, "Victim of Changes." Or our favorite one was "Fuck Off." That one would come up a lot.
It's great. Um, so obviously it's great that, you've never really been playing any songs that you dislike. I'm sure there's many cover band musicians who wish they could say the same thing. I'm personally sick of doing Don't Stop Believin'. I never want to hear the song again, but I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it's a great song, but it's
It's a
overplayed.
great song, but I mean, even just in popular culture, you're bombarded with it.
Yep.
If you've got a radio on, you're going to hear it 20 times a day or whatever. It's
Yep.
so if you're in the situation where you're playing it too, it can get a little rough. Yeah.
So are there any songs that just let's say it comes on the radio and you just immediately turn it off?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Uh,
One that comes to mind.
where I am now, the rock stuff, it's nearly all this 90s stuff that'll come on. So I'll hear that. What's that? The band called Live.
Oh,
Yeah, it's click gone. That's gone instantly. Uh, you gotta keep them separated. The Offspring stuff with that guy screaming at the top of his absolute top of his range, and they've got like 4 songs that sound all the same.
I mean, it's very interesting because like that song specifically, "Come Out and Play" Offspring. It's like he's yelling throughout the whole verse, but it seems very out of key. But it's the same note, but it's always out of key. I don't really understand that.
I remember a good friend of mine, John Erigo, and his friend Ed. I think Ed worked for, I don't know if it's CBS or Vertigo, whatever the label was. I think, were they signed to Columbia, the Offspring?
I don't know. I could look.
Anyway, one of the majors. And this is when they got signed. And he said they got signed for like a 7 or an 8 album deal for like $10 million. And he
Mm.
goes, that's absolutely insane. I don't see this band making $1 past the first single. I guess they proved him wrong.
Yeah,
They made a lot of money. And I
still
think they
selling
just
out.
I think they just sold that catalog for some stupid amount of money too.
Jeez.
Like, like 100 million bucks or something crazy.
Hmm.
God bless. God bless. If you can pull that off, wonderful.
Sure. I mean, again, I don't fault anyone, obviously trying to make, playing music, trying to make money. I don't fault anyone, even if I don't personally like the
Well,
music.
it's
Hey, more
it's
power to you.
very it's very hypocritical because you're doing that for money. Well, what do you think you're freaking doing? You're freaking mopping floors or working in an office. Was this your life choice?
Sure, it's still a
I mean,
profession at the end of the day.
somebody go out there who's making money, even playing in a cover band. Man, that's like you won the lottery.
Yep.
You're out there, and whatever you're doing, you're putting a smile on somebody's face. Come on.
I guess the issue that then happens is like obviously if you're doing music, you're more in the public eye, and people are going to have opinions. It's like you're not really going to have someone saying, "Oh, you're not going to have a public consensus of someone saying, "Oh, you're a terrible janitor. Oh, you're my least favorite janitor." That's not the
Yeah, I
discussion
mean
that happens.
it's ludicrous, and these whenever you got such and such a band sold out, whatever, it's just like, well, first off, you don't know their situation. Uh, I mean, we got accused of that during the whole Atlantic thing, but I mean, you're living in the States on $20 a week. I mean, and somebody says, "You want to do this?" Yeah, I'll do this. I'll put the red nose on for 5 minutes. Let's see what happens, and it's all very easy to be, you know, to have those kind of morals or an ethical outlook on everything in your ivory tower if you're independently funded or independently wealthy. Otherwise, like every other working stiff, you roll your sleeves up and do what you got to do to get to tomorrow.
Sure,
That's just the way it is. But but as far as that stuff's concerned, I don't care. I'd kiss the ground every day. We're so lucky to be able to do what we do, and like you say, to do what we want to do. That that's beyond. That's beyond a financial thing. It's just very very lucky. So anything else is gravy. So it's
sure.
cool.
And I think that's what a lot of people fail to really understand when it comes to obviously like the word success. That's a subjective thing for everyone. An outsider would look at something and say, okay, Metallica, they're playing arenas, they have $1 million whatever, and that's fine, that's good for them, but like just to be able to do this, it's like, okay, I'm playing 3 4 times a week and that's helping me pay my bills. It's what more do I really need more than that? I don't need a $1 million house or whatever.
No, no, that's very astute to have that viewpoint at your age. That's good. That's good to have because at the end of the day, all that stuff it's just stuff. And the guys from Metallica, I'll tell you, I mean, famously, James drives like a 25-year-old car and all this stuff. You see a lot of people who've got a lot of money. They don't put a lot of stock in that stuff. It's just like, I don't have to have this year's Lamborghini. It's irrelevant, you know. Money is a great facilitator. It enables you to do a lot of things you want to do. And also, when you get to a level that they are, I'm sure they would admit, there's a great deal of the golden cage effect where maybe you're not able to do what you want to do because so many people are reliant on you doing a certain thing.
Mm-hmm.
So when you upset the apple cart and go, oh, we're going to do something different, a lot of people are freaking out, you know, where maybe if you don't have that success, nobody cares. It's just like, yeah, go do your thing, you know.
Sure.
But as far as the way they handle themselves, I've got a great deal of respect for them. Absolutely, especially after interacting with them the last few years. And that brings another gig disaster up.
Oh, great.
There's videos out there you can watch where we play with Metallica, let's say 2 years ago. It was a tribute for John and Marsha Zazula down at the Hard Rock in Fort Lauderdale, in
Mm-hmm.
Florida. And they invited us to open, which was, beautiful. That was wonderful. We were on tour. It was like the second last date. It just worked perfectly. So we're in there. James and Lars come out to introduce us. They joke on, they bring us on, and then we're ready to go. And nothing happens because Mark's guitar's not working
Mm.
for maybe 58, 59 seconds, the longest 58, 59 seconds of my life. Because somehow, when everything had got set up, somebody turned the volume on the slave amp, which was powering the cabinet, to off.
Oh,
So that's, Murphy's Law at work once again. But once he got it working, you go, rah, say, oh, thank God, we're off. We're off and running. We're good.
yeah. Show must go on, and the show will go on.
Yeah, just maybe a little later.
Ah, this has been a fun conversation. So you mentioned you're going to, and I saw the post about it also. You have a pretty much a new super group that's going to be performing a few shows pretty soon. Lords of the New Wave of British Heavy Metal, NWOBHM. That is a long acronym.
I know. Don't we? And then when they start saying you wob 'em, it's like even more annoying. I hate
Did you
that.
say that? New Wabum?
Yeah, that's that Sam guy from Canada that did all the
Oh,
documentaries.
right. Yes, yes.
He kind of popularized saying "you wob 'em." It's just like
Ah.
it's just the worst word ever. Uh, and of course, there's a new wob 'em sound. It's like no, there isn't. It's just a period of time. So Cliff, who I've known since that gig we played, Tank opened for us back in '85. Cliff plays with Tank, and then their new drummer, Carl, who was playing with Diamond Head for a long while. I know him. Very, very good guys. And Tino, who I don't know, but looking forward to meeting him from Praying Mantis. And Carl Sentence, who was in Persian Risk and is currently singing with Nazareth.
Yep.
Fantastic. So he just said, hey, I'm putting this thing together. We have a few laughs. We make a few bucks. We get out. I'm like, yeah, I'm good. You know, I'll let you know when I'm free. And if I can do it, I'll do it. Let's go. Let's go have a laugh. Let's go do it. So we're going to Japan in January and doing a couple of shows there. And there may be a couple of festival shows through the year. Again, depending on what my schedule is, because we're working on booking stuff for the band through next year. But it's always fun to play with different people. And I mean, I played a thing like that with Cliff before. Actually, I got drafted in to help Paul Diano back in '92, I think it was.
Hmm.
And I worked with him for like 2 weeks. We were doing showcases. and he had industry people coming in to this rehearsal hall, and he was playing Battlezone and Iron Maiden songs and didn't tell them, and they all thought they were new material. And he got a deal out of it.
Wow.
And then they brought a mobile truck, and we did a Live in South America album on West 47th Street in New York City. With the worst fake crowd ever. But it's live. It is live. It was live to 2 tracks. So if you see that floating around, it's a pretty fun album if you just ignore the bits between.
That's great. You mentioned Raven was going to be doing some touring next year. Are there any plans for new music?
Yeah, I've been writing like a crazy man here. I have lots and lots and lots and lots of songs, and I'm very happy that they're very good. Everyone's been putting their 10 cents in. We've been radically rewriting and changing stuff, and that process will continue. And we're just waiting on Mike finishing his new studio, and then when we have a timeline on that, then we can go back and revisit these and go, okay, what sounds like a good opener, what would be good in the middle, what would be a closer, and take 10 songs or roughly 45 minutes worth of kick-ass, all killer, no filler, and go from there. So we've got that happening. We got the tour in Europe in September. We've got a one-off festival, the Frost and Fire in Ventura, California on October 24th. And then my brother's going in to get a knee replacement.
Oh.
So we've had most of the year off this year with him getting an ankle replacement, and then he's going to round it off. He's turning into the heavy metal man piece by piece, I think. But it'll be good because he's went through an awful lot of pain over the last 10 years, and I've had to see him suffer. Nobody would know playing live. He wouldn't know. But when he comes off, he'd be like curled in a ball on the floor somewhere or something, Not fun. So he's doing great with the ankle. That's made a huge difference to his life and his demeanor.
That's great to hear.
He's much happier, which is good. And the knee is the next problem. He's got major issues with that because again he was compensating for the ankle by leaning on the other leg, and the knee was damaged already. And this is all residual stuff from that accident back in, was it like 25 years ago now, 2001.
With the wall collapsing, right?
Yeah, he had his legs crushed and his feet were removed basically, and he had a rebar through one calf muscle, and it was just, he nearly died, put it that way.
Ugh.
And then it was, we're going to have to take your legs. And he said, no, we've got to take your right leg. No, you're not. Well, you'll never walk again. Yeah, watch me.
It's still going strong 25 years later.
So that kind of, we look at each other, me and Mike, and we can't complain about anything because, he's went through literally hell and back.
Sure.
And very inspirational. Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, it goes back to the fact that you guys are doing rock until you drop every single show. That's just the ethos of the whole thing, isn't it?
That's right.
I love it.
That's what it's all about. It's, from the heart. We love what we do. We love that people come out to see us, and 110% every damn time. That's what it's about.
That's awesome. Well, John, thank you so much for being a guest here on Gig Nightmares. It's been an awesome time getting to chat with you, catch up, hear all these stories. And obviously looking forward to hearing new stuff from Raven, new stuff from Lords of Nwabum.
Yeah, and we're setting dates for the States for Raven in probably March, April. We're
Awesome.
working on that, so that we're looking forward to that. That's going to be fun.
Well, I'll be there.
All right, man.
Yep. Well, John, again, thank you. Thanks for chatting, and thanks for keeping the music alive.
You got it, man. Thanks so much.
We hope you enjoyed this week's episode of Gig Nightmares. Gig Nightmares is an independently produced podcast made possible by the support of listeners like you. If you enjoyed this week's episode, we would appreciate if you left a rating and a review for us. Gig Nightmare.